Sales is the most misunderstood skill in the world, especially for women. We've been taught to be likable, agreeable, helpful, generous, to make sure that nobody feels uncomfortable. And then we wonder why we feel sick every time we have to charge for what we do. And we wonder why we underprice, why we overdeliver, why we apologize before we even ask for any form of sale. And this podcast exists because that ends here. Welcome to The Art of Selling. My name is Chloe, and this show exists for one reason: to change the way women sell. If you are a woman ready to get dangerously good at sales without losing yourself in the process, you're in the right place. Today we're going to be talking about how I became dangerously good at sales and the story behind The Art of Selling and why this podcast exists and kind of what you can expect from this show in your ears every single week. And every week I'm going to be sharing with you bite-sized episodes on sales, mindset, identity, and the skills that probably no one's really actually taught you, and things that I've learned the hard way along the road, and things that I'm still learning today, and the stuff that actually helps when you're trying to build a successful business as a woman in business. I'm honestly so excited to be sharing this journey with you. It's been something that I've wanted to do for a really, really long time. And yeah, here I am. This is the podcast that is going to be so full of knowledge and the value. Hopefully I can bring as much value to you as possible. And I just hope you enjoy every single second of it. Please, please, please remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps me, and will also remind you to listen in once a week and tune in to the powerful energy of becoming incredible at sales, because as women, we are incredible at this. We are incredible at selling, just in our own unique way. And I'm going to be deep diving into exactly what that is and how we can transform us as women to become better at selling, and something I've learned massively in the last few years. So before I teach you anything about sales, and I really want you to know why I'm even qualified to be in your ear right now or watching me on YouTube, because honestly, I think if you're going to teach anything, you have to have done the work yourself. And I'm also a big believer in you have to kind of be in it now as well. There's so many gurus out there that are coaches in certain things, but they're not doing the business themselves. They've just gone into full-time coaching. Definitely not my thing. I think if you're going to teach someone, you have to live and breathe it right now. And that's what I do. I work in sales. I coach many women I've coached hundreds of women to learn how to sell their own offers and scale their businesses. But as well as that, I live and breathe sales. I've done it for years, and not just, talking about it, not just talking, actually done it. I've been on calls, I've made offers, I've had hundreds and thousands of no's, but I've also closed hundreds and thousands of yeses. I've actually been there and done it, and I'm still doing it today. So today is a little bit different, because I'm going to teach you. I'm not going to teach you an actual framework. I'm not going to give you the steps that I teach just yet. I wanted to just start this podcast off by just telling you my story, because how I got here and how sales has completely transformed my life is the reason why you're going to want to carry on listening, and you're going to want to tune in every single week. And I'm going to be completely honest with you about what sales has cost me, but also be honest with you about what it gave me and why I'm building this now and where I'm at in my life, and why I feel like it's really I feel called to teach other women the powerful techniques and strategies that I've been able to learn over the last few years. So if you're going to spend the next however many weeks, months, hopefully years with me in your ears, you should know exactly who's talking to you. So whether this is your first time listening, and I've got hundreds of podcasts in the future, or whether you've listened before and you've gone back to the first, please, please, please know that I built this because I really, really want to make a change in women's lives. I want to teach women the power of having the power to actually sell. Like, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to learn as women. We are, in fact, probably the best. I believe so. We are the best. And we have the power to sell off of our nurturing, our sort of like nurturing roots. And that's what makes us so powerful in sales. Yeah. Let's rewind and go back to sort of like where I am and who I am, really. So if you'd asked me 5 years ago what I'd be doing now, I would not have said this. Definitely wouldn't have said a podcast. I wouldn't have said sales. I wouldn't have said like running a business with my best friend and doing all of the amazing things that I've been able to do and helping women charge their worth and helping women sell $1 million offers. I definitely wouldn't have said that. I actually thought I'd be a singer. And I know it's so different, but I actually really loved music, and I still love music. I love writing. I love singing. However, I very, very quickly started to dislike the industry and dislike the lack of money that it gave me. And if I'm honest, the late gigs, the drinking and everything else that comes with being a musician, I'd been doing it my whole life. And for a long time, I genuinely thought it was the path. It turns out it wasn't. So the summer after my first year at uni, I was really, really broke, like properly poor. My parents, loved them to pieces, but we were a normal family. They couldn't afford to pay for my tuition fees. So I had to get a job. And I went on Indeed. And I remember I was sat in my flat in North London. I was living in Kilburn at the time. And I applied for literally one of the most like vaguest job descriptions I think I've ever seen in my life. It literally just said like looking for outgoing, talkative people who want to make money. That was literally it. I had no idea what the job was, literally not a clue. But I got an interview the next day, got on a train to Islington, sat down with the CEO, and within 10 minutes I was offered the job. Still, funnily enough, I still had no clue what the job was. He just handed me an iPad and a map and told me I was going on, quote, a field day with the team. God knows what that meant at the time. I remember just being like so bewildered. There was like loud music going on upstairs. It sounded like they were getting training. Didn't have a clue what was going on. So I follow this group of 6 guys onto the like underground out into like East London. We get off at like a pretty rundown council estate, and the team leader walks up to the first door, knocks on it, and starts like pitching this old lady about a disability charity. It was actually, the charity was called Scope, if you don't know what that is. It's quite a popular charity. I don't know if it's worldwide. It's quite big in the UK. At this point, I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. And this little old lady listens for a second, and then I just remember her slamming the door in this guy's face. And I remember standing there, and I was literally, I think I was about 19 years old, and I was stood there, and I remember thinking, I could have stopped that door from closing. I really do. I remember feeling like that. So I asked if I could go off and try by myself, like just try and knock on some doors. And this guy was kind of rude. He was like, he kind of laughed at me, and he was like, well, go on then. And he shoved this iPad in my hand and was like, yeah, go and try. Started knocking on doors on my own. And by the third door, I knocked on this lovely, lovely older man's house. And he answered, and we started talking, and he tells me about his disabled son. And the charity was about for people with disabilities. So within like 3 minutes, I'm in his kitchen, I'm drinking a cup of tea, I'm dipping a rich tea biscuit in, and I'm signing him up on like a £10 a month direct debit. And I was the only person on the team that day to sign anyone up. And I felt euphoric, like properly on a high. I remember just being like, wow, I actually really loved that. That was really fun. And I was really lucky that, I didn't need to force him into buying it, into putting his card in the deed. Like, he was already bought. Like, we just had the most lovely day. Well, lovely. I think it was like maybe about 30 minutes with him, and he paid. And so anyway, I cut a long story short, I quit uni within a few weeks, stayed door to door selling for the next 9 months. And I was one of maybe like 5 to 10 women on a team full of men. And I was one of the top performers. Honestly, I was making more money than I knew what to even do with at 19. Like, it was insane. Now, back then, it probably wasn't even that much money, but it felt like I was a millionaire. And I was like, I am the richest person. I am so wealthy. This is amazing. And ever since that day, it's really weird. I feel like sales has just kept choosing me. I ended up working in newspaper advertising. I've worked in like health insurance. I worked in an agency. That's how I started to scale my own agency as well. And I worked in a health insurance company. This was my last like corporate job. This was I was 25. So this was about, nearly 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. I worked at a company called Vitality Health Insurance. And this is such a mad story, but I used to hit my targets within like the first week. We used to have to sell like 30 things a day or 30 things a month. And I would literally hit it within the week. And I actually got fired from that job because I refused to go above 30 sales because I wouldn't get paid commission on it. And I would hand the leads over to friends that I worked with. And apparently that was a sackable offence. So tell you that story in a bit more in another episode maybe, but the thread through every single one of those like chapters in my life has been the same thing. And the thing about the version of me is like I was so capable. I was really smart. I say I was smart. I definitely wasn't academic. In fact, I was actually the opposite of academic. I really, really, really didn't like school, but I had the work ethic of a Trojan horse. I say this a lot, like on my content as well, but I really did. I really, 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 really was so motivated to make money at that point. And this is where I was also quite naive though at that point in my life. Like I was definitely quite naive. I kind of thought that everything was rosy and glory, amazing. So I've told you the story of how sales found me, and that's, there's more in-depth stuff I could tell you about so many of the jobs that I've had over the last like probably even longer than a decade. But what I haven't told you yet is what surprised me about it. The thing I wasn't expecting was that I was really good at it, and not because I was loud or pushy or, forcing people into doing anything, or even that I learned some like hardcore script off some bro in a Lamborghini on YouTube. Like that was, I'd never really learned from anyone like that, but I was good at it because I'm a really good listener. I really am. And I believed in what I was offering more than I was scared of the no. So one thing in sales is if you truly, truly believe in what you're doing, the sale really does come naturally. And we'll go into a lot more depth as I move into the episodes and like really how to believe in what you sell. But that's when I realized that sales, especially in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, like sales isn't manipulation. Sales is actually leadership and connection and trust and belief, and it's leading someone through their own decision. It's holding space so that they can actually hear themselves think. One of the worst things that you can do in sales is talk over someone and actually talk and be really, really chatty. Obviously you want to have a conversation with someone, but it's a time for someone to be like, actually, I'm really struggling. Is this something that you can help me with? And getting someone to open up, like that is one of the most beautiful parts about sales. It's almost like therapy. And if you have the right thing that you can offer someone to help them get from point A to point B, then it's a no-brainer for them because they feel heard, they feel supported. And that like reframe changed everything for me because suddenly I wasn't selling at people. I was actually helping them. And there's a massive difference because, and this is going to sound really deep, but women especially have been conditioned to apologize for wanting money. We've been taught to be grateful for whatever we get, to not ask, to not be too pushy, to not take up too much space. This is, and this comes in even in like nowadays as well. I know it was very, very prominent back in like, the olden days, like the 80s, the 90s, the 40s, the 50s, like all those ages. But it's still now, like to not take up too much space, to soften everything with like oh, no worries, it's okay, don't worry. Honestly, so many of my clients that I work with have told me that they just, when they get an objection, they're like, no worries, that's absolutely fine, you can come back to me whenever you want. And then we wonder why we're undercharging, why we feel completely burnt out, why we feel like frauds, and this is where imposter syndrome comes in, because we hit these milestones that we've always dreamed about. We've always dreamed about hitting these milestones, but then we have these imposter syndromes because we think, I'm not worthy enough for this, or I don't feel like this is right for me. And it's not a sales problem. It's a permission problem, and nobody gave us permission. So we have to give it to ourselves. We have to really, really train ourselves on how to get better and how to lean into our own tuition so that we're not selling like men, we're selling like ourselves, like our true intuitive self. Now, I know every single woman is different, but every woman has an intuition. We have such strong intuition. So one big thing is, and we're going to cover this a lot in this podcast, is mindset, because this is the bit that took me the longest to understand. And honestly, it's the bit that completely changed my life. Your skills were never the bottleneck. Your self-concept is. And it's so, so, so true. You can have the best offer in the world. You could have a beautiful website. You can have the most amazing testimonials. You can have a strategy that works on paper. But if you're delivering it and you don't believe you're worth the money, none of it lands. Let's say, for instance, let's put into perspective, like say, for instance, like Nike, right? So Nike are a huge, huge, huge brand. Now, ultimately, if you just think about their clothing, it's just fabric. It's literally just fabric with a tick on it. Why have Nike been able to do so well? Because they've got this incredible brand that, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys, if you'll remember, but they had this advert and it was talking about like women in sport and how women have like completely changed the direction of sport. And it was so powerful. It was unbelievable. Like it actually gave me a tear to my eye. I need to find it again. It was amazing. And that's what makes Nike so special. Their ability to connect with their audience, their ability to make people feel something when they are watching an advert or when they're in the Nike shop. Like there's this atmosphere when you go into a Nike shop. It feels electric in there. And it's the exact same when you're on a sales call, when you're learning how to become better at sales, when you're speaking to someone, whether or not you're selling. Like you have to have a connection. You have to make someone think that person was unforgettable. You have to become the brand. And that is what makes people invest and not invest in you. It's trust. So Henry Ford has this line, and it's really cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. And it says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I used to roll my eyes at stuff like this. And I used to think like mindset was so airy fairy and I wasn't really into it at all. And I always used to kind of say that it was a way for people who couldn't be bothered to do the hard work to feel like they were doing something. And I was so wrong. And now mindset is a complete daily practice for me. I practice it all the time, a little bit like the gym. You know, you don't go to the gym and get fit after one session. You have to be consistent. You're not going to get abs by just going to the gym once and then that's it. You have to show up every day or every other day to get the results that you want. And it's the exact same when we're talking about sales and mindset and becoming a better person or learning a new skill. It's all the same. Practice and you will get better. Practice and you will get stronger. And it's the same with sales. And I can talk more about this in like different episodes as well. But mindset tips that for me, that have really worked is things like, one thing is I try and wake up before 6 a.m. Now, I'm not going to tell you I do that all the time because sometimes I go to bed late and I'm tired, but I try my best to at least wake up before 6 a.m. a couple of nights or for 3 to 4 nights a week. It's not for everyone, but it's so good to get a head start and wake up before the rest of the world wakes up. And I know this because it's quiet at 5 a.m. It's quiet at 5:30. It's quiet just before 6. No one's really awake at that point. Not everyone, and it's a time to like maybe go for a walk or, do things like this. Another mindset practice that I do is I read, again, I'm not going to tell you that I do these all the time because I think that would be lying. And I'm not here to lie to you. I'm here to be completely truthfully honest. But one thing that I really like to do is I like to read 10 pages before I go to sleep. Sometimes I crawl into bed and put my arm mask on and I just want to drift off and just go straight to sleep and I can't do it. But I do try and do like a couple of, at least like 4 to 5 nights a week. I try and read before I go to bed. Another really good one is like listening to affirmations and listening to YouTube videos where they talk about like mindset and, just listening to things, high frequency vibrational music when you're working. Another really good one is like getting your 10K steps a day. I know it sounds cliche, but getting out and getting movement in the body, that is a really good mindset technique because if your body is moving, your mind slows down. Another really good one that I've found recently, and I've been told to do this so many times, but I've only really just started it's called tapping. If you haven't heard about it, it's an incredible rewiring technique and in fact, I'm going to talk about this a lot in another episode where we talk about how to tap to rewire your ability to sell more. I've got this amazing YouTube that I watch and I've actually got a coach that I'm working with right now, which is insane, but it helps you overcome limiting beliefs with the use of tapping. And you basically would like tap on certain like pressure points and you say things to basically unpick that limiting belief that you have. And there's honestly so many. I could go into so many of them and I will do more of them as we go through the episodes of like different mindset techniques that I recommend. But there's this line that James Clear wrote in Atomic Habits. If you haven't read this book, it's a really, really, really good book. And I think about it a lot. And it says, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And that's exactly it. Like you don't accidentally become the woman who sells with ease. You don't build the systems. You don't build the practice and then just show up and feel like you can just do it straight away. You have to build everything slowly. You have to build the practice. You have to build the systems. You have to build the repetitiveness in your brain until one day you look up and you're your future version. And the one thing that nobody tells you, and I think one thing that I've had to really learn over the last few years is that in order to become that future version, the evidence has to be there. In order to become that version where you feel confident getting on a sales call, where you feel confident closing the next lead or being better in selling, you have to almost believe that you are that person already. And that's something that I've really, tapped into over the last few years. You have to almost act and speak like the version who has already achieved it. Like really embody that version. And I'll go into way more detail over the next few episodes of like how to actually channel that other persona that you can channel into, especially when selling. Now, I'm actually a Gemini, and that's not really hard for me because apparently we've got like 2 split personalities. But I truly believe that if you can have like your persona, which is like who you are right now, and then you have your sales persona, this person who's like really confident, like really sure and certain of what they're doing. You don't have to act like them all the time. When you're at home, you can be a different person. You can be your true self, you're vulnerable, but like when you're that person, you can easily step into that. And you can, maybe it's like when you put your makeup on, you feel really, different. I actually try not to wear makeup, and I'm wearing makeup today. And I'm like, okay, I feel amazing. I feel like Chloe 2.0. I feel like a better version of me in terms of more confident. I feel excited. I feel like if I didn't have makeup on, I don't know, I just feel like I'm my normal, calm kind of other self. And I think it's always good to have like 2 different types of personalities that you can tap into so that you can be this like powerful figure, and then you can be your sort of like your normal energy. Now, again, these are going to cross across different things. I'm not going to say you can't change them and you can't bring them together, because you absolutely can. But it's really good to know how to have like 2 personas. One is like the business minded one, the one who's really go-getter, the one who's like determined to win. And then you have this other version of you that's happy to sit on the sofa and watch a movie and rest and relax, and it's okay. So this is why I bang on about mindset, and I will bang on about it till the day I die, because if you skip this part, no sales script in the world will save you. You'll find a way to sabotage it. You'll end up undercharging. You'll over explain it. You'll talk yourself out of every single opportunity that you have to close any type of lead or any type of business. And not because you're essentially broken, but because you haven't done the inner work to match the outer one. You haven't worked on that version of you that has the ability to show up and become that future version of you. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. Honestly, that's kind of why I built this, because I've watched what's happening in the industry, and honestly, a lot of it makes me really uncomfortable. It does. Women being taught to be really loud and aggressive, and really being taught by these like high ticket sales bros and these scripts that feel really gross, and you don't even want to read them out loud, like tactics that work for people selling tactics, but they don't work for the women trying to actually build something real. And on the other side, you've got the women who, so you've got 2 different types of women. You've got women who are like taught to be really aggressive and have come from this like bro marketing style. And then you've got these other women who refuse to learn how to sell. They think it's really icky, who they just sort of hope and pray that the right clients will come to them and they don't need to learn how to do it. And they dress everything up in like, oh no, it's fine. Everything's fine. I don't need to handle that. They'll just come back to me when it's the right time. I've had so many clients that I've worked with that have said that, like, oh, I just let them go because the time will be. And I'm sorry to say that until you learn how to really, really dig into your intuition, you'll end up having leads that just do that all the time. But the good thing is, if you are either one of these habits can be unlearned. You can absolutely sell anything. You just have to believe in what you're selling. And this is the art of feminine intuition. We are intuitive beings. We are so in tune with everything around us. And we literally, I say this all the time, but we literally birth children and give life to life. Like, we are incredible. We're so incredible. Like, women absolutely fascinate me. Like, we are one of the, like, I can't say it without like being like weird, but I'm so gobsmacked with like how incredible women are and how powerful we are and how much strength we have. And we are also masters of multitasking by nature. Like we, hundreds and thousands of years, we've had the ability to manage a home, have children, cook, clean. Like we are unbelievable. We are also natural caregivers. Like by nature, we are caregivers. We like to care, we like to nurture. So why not use that to our advantage when we sell? Why not tap into that like intuitive energy and be able to go, actually, do you know what? I'm not a bro salesperson. I want to sell in my own tuition. I want to sell the way that makes me feel comfortable. So something I wrote down the other day, actually, in my diary that I have here in my book, I write down like loads of different thoughts, and I've got it on my notes app, and then I write it. To be fair, I normally just have it in my notes app and then write it on here. But something that I wrote down the other day is that sales is the most loving skill you can ever develop, because it means more of the people who need you actually get to experience what you do. And I love that. I love that. It came to me when I was walking. I was like, actually, sales is one of the most loving experiences. Like it's not these high pressure tactics. It's actually finding someone who really needs you and working out how you can help them. And every time, I truly, truly, truly believe this, every time you don't ask for the sale, or someone who you don't ask for the sale, someone who potentially needs you, like actually needed that sale, that would have really helped them, they walk away. And then every time that you undercharge, you train your brain, you train your actual like physical psychological brain to play small and to think that charging more, you're not worthy of charging more anymore. And every time you apologize for what you're worth, this is going to sound really deep, but you actually teach the universe how to treat you. You know, by saying, oh, sorry, yeah, no, don't worry, I'll give you a discount, don't worry, da da da. Like you train that thinking, that feeling. Now, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in God, whatever entity you believe in, you train that entity to that is what you deserve. That is the way that they should treat you. That is the way that is what you deserve. So selling well is not selfish. I promise you. Selling well is a service. And once you learn how to sell well, your service will sell tenfold. So throughout this podcast, we're going to get into all of it. You know, the mindset, the energy of a sales call, the objections nobody teaches you how to handle, the undercharging trap, the follow-up nobody wants to do, which I hear all the time from my clients, and the identity shift of women who close consistently, like absolutely all of it. And I'm going to do it in your ear in short episodes. I really never wanted this to be like an hour-long podcast where you have to just fully lock in and, you know, you had to listen for an hour, because if you're like me, you like bite-sized episodes. They are so much easier to listen to and learn from. And I want you to be able to listen to this whilst you're walking the dog, or driving in the car, or making dinner, or having a bath, or doing all of these like lovely things that we get to do. Bite-sized episodes, but dangerous. So if you've got something from this episode and you've learned something from this. Now, I know I haven't really given you like a heap of wisdom yet, and I promise you, as we go through the episodes, I'm going to break down every single type of sales lesson, every single type of like literally everything I've learned in bite-sized episodes for you, and we can cover them and go through a lot of it. But if you have loved this episode, I would love for you to share it with one woman who also needs to hear it, because that is how this grows, and that's how we change the way selling feels and looks for women. And I really wanted, that's what I feel like I'm put on this earth to do, is to help other people feel powerful in selling what it is that they need to sell. So Please, if you haven't done so already, follow the show so you don't miss next week's episode. And if you've got 2 minutes, you can leave a review. It really, really genuinely helps more women find this. And like I said, I'm on a mission to help women sell their purpose, sell with confidence, and feel truly, truly magnetic and become dangerously good at selling. So, yeah, I will see you next week. Thank you.